What's up guys, welcome back for another weekly review. The movie that we're talking about today is The Watchers, and this movie took me by complete surprise. I'm so glad I went into it blind because it definitely paid off in a way that I haven't really experienced before. So it was a really fun experience and I can't wait to talk about it with you guys. But before we get into any of this, if you're new here, please make sure to hit the subscribe button. It'll really help the channel out a lot, and hit the notification bell so you know whenever I post new videos. The more support the channel has, the more content that we'll have. But all right, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into the movie. The movie The Watchers, directed by Ishana Night Shyamalan, follows Mina, a 28-year-old artist played by Dakota Fanning, who gets stranded in a vast forest in Western Ireland. Seeking shelter, she discovers that she's not alone, but trapped with 3 other strangers. Each night, they are then stalked by these mysterious creatures called the Watchers. Don't worry, this is actually going to be a non-spoiler review, but I thought that the story was done extremely well. I loved all the hints and symbolism throughout the movie. It felt very similar to M. Night, which is to be expected since he's a producer on this movie. But the story was told really well. I thought the opening though was a bit cliche, but once it actually unfolded and you circle back to the opening during the movie, it works a lot better than it does initially. And then following that, you have Mina, the artist, who's played by Dakota Fanning, and she goes out into the Irish countryside for some kind of vacation. And as she goes, she ends up getting lost. Her car breaks down, so her and her bird that she takes along with her for this trip find shelter with these 3 other strangers, which leads us to our other characters. We have Kiera, played by Georgina Campbell from Barbarian. We have Madeline, played by Olwen Fouere. We have Madeline, played by Olwen Fouere. Well, there is no way I pronounced that right. Olwen? This is why it takes me forever to make these videos. Anyways, from there we have Daniel, who's played by Olwen Finnegan, who I've never actually seen in anything before to my knowledge, but he played his character pretty well. So yeah, she finds the shelter in this structure in the middle of the woods with these 3 other strangers. They tell her that they're only able to go outside during the day because at night they have to stand in front of the mirror, which is actually a window to the outside looking in for these mysterious creatures to watch them. They can only come out at night, which means that they are safe to roam and gather stuff during the day because they're trapped, and it's pretty much fucked if you go out at night. I don't want to give too much else away about the story other than that being the basic premise and that they have to figure out how to escape from the vast countryside that they're trapped in with these creatures. It's a story that's simple enough, but it does have, like I said, nice little pieces of symbolism and hints towards the reveal throughout the film, so it at least makes the story feel a little bit more dynamic than just being a simple trapped in the woods with mysterious creatures story. And I also really like the ending. The way it wrapped up and ended, it felt a little bit dragged out, but in the end, I feel like it worked in the movie's favor, and I don't know, I really enjoyed it. Now, as far as the characters go, what I've already shared above in the story section of the review is pretty much, I think, enough for you guys to go off of, since you're gonna probably watch this before you see the movie, hopefully. It's pretty much just that simple. So I was pretty pleased with all the characters throughout the movie because I thought the actors did a really good job with what they were given, since the story's got such a simple setup with a twist that's obviously coming later in the movie. The characters were all fleshed out very well for what the movie was. Moving on from the characters, there's 2 different aspects about this movie that I want to talk about. The first one that I'm going to get into is the setting, taking place in Ireland and the Irish countryside. It was extremely beautiful and there was lots of wide landscape shots. It was such gorgeous scenery throughout the movie that it was just sometimes really captivating. So I thought that the setting was an extremely important part of the movie and it worked really well to the movie's advantage. There were some times that it was a little too dark in some spots, but it makes sense as the movie goes on, and it ends up, again, working to the movie's advantage when keeping the creatures hidden in the shadows. Following that, I want to talk about the sound design and visuals. The sound design was extremely creepy at times. Again, they had that really creepy, eerie, old-timey music that they played in the movie whenever Kiera was dancing, and it was even played in the teaser trailers. The sound design was super effective and really eerie at times. The visuals, yes, they did consist of some CGI, but for the most part, it wasn't too distracting, like at all. And the darker lighting during scenes that I talked about earlier with the creatures, it helped them blend into the shadows without losing too much focus on the creatures. It keeps them mysterious throughout the movie towards the end, and the visuals you get out of the creatures at different times are really effective because you're not fully seeing what these things are. And while it's not outright scary, it's definitely creepy and, dare I say, almost uncanny valley, without like spoiling anything, which will make more sense once you see the movie. So yeah, I thought that the sound design and visuals worked very well in this movie. Speaking of not being actually scary, I would definitely say I classify this movie as more so a supernatural fantasy thriller with horror elements because the movie itself isn't actually scary. It gets intense with some sequences, like don't get me wrong, and has some pretty creepy and disturbing imagery, but the movie isn't outright scary, so I thought it was kind of an interesting switch up for me since I went into this thinking it was a horror movie. So I ended up really enjoying that. There were not really many jump scares either, so if you hate those, you're pretty much good here. That all being said, that's pretty much all I want to say about the movie. I thought that this movie was a really fun and interesting watch, especially since I went in knowing as little as possible. So I thought that the visuals and the sound design were creepy. I liked the characters. I thought that they at least had some depth to them. The cast all worked pretty well together. And as far as my rating for this one, I would give this movie an 8 out of 10. I do feel that the movie could have been scarier and maybe gone a little bit further with the horror elements, but given the story that they were trying to tell, I think that in the end, keeping the horror a little bit more subdued and keeping it more supernatural fantasy thriller, it ended up working in the end. So yeah, I would definitely give this one an 8 out of 10. All right guys, so that pretty much wraps up this video. If you enjoyed this video and you aren't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. It'll really help the channel out a lot and ensure that I'll be able to make more content for you guys consistently like I've been able to, which is thanks to all of you. So I really appreciate all of the support from you guys. It truly means a lot. But as always, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like, and I'll see you in the next one.